If you are a target of workplace bullying, my guess is you are a codependent empath getting eaten alive, chewed up, and spat out by psychopaths, sociopaths, and narcissists with no boundaries and no empathy. One of my theories about workplace bullying is that it is a form of narcissistic abuse. I'm serious. I'm going to keep saying it until I see it in the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, the Bible of American Psychology. The reason that I believe that is, if you research narcissism and narcissistic abuse, the parallels with workplace bullying are uncanny. They will blow your mind. However, much of the currently available information about narcissism and narcissistic abuse appears to focus exclusively on intimate, personal, love, romantic relationships. So if you are a target of workplace bullying and you watch the videos and search the internet for information about narcissism and narcissistic abuse, you may find that a lot of it just does not resonate. It's not useful and not helpful. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of similarities. If you've ever had the misfortune of being in a narcissistically abusive relationship, you know that in both romantic relationships and in the workplace, you are suffering abuse at the hands of pathetically insecure, pathologically jealous, unevolved, low-level spirits who have to put down other people in order to feel better about themselves. They are obsessed with control, domination, and winning. Their appalling behavior is a pitiful and pathetic attempt to protect and defend the weak and fragile ego. They will respond with violence and cruelty if their mask slips or is threatened, or if they are not getting their narcissistic supply. They want to be the gods in your universe and build you up and tear you down at will. They project all over you those parts of themselves that they do not accept. They love to prey upon your vulnerabilities, turn them around, and use them against you. They will throw temper tantrums, real or symbolic, when somebody gets more attention than they do, which means somebody is getting more narcissistic supply than they are. They hate your good spirit, want to destroy your happiness and put out your light, enjoy your suffering, and turn all of your positive qualities into negatives. They are addicted to chaos, drama, turmoil, and conflict, and allergic to goodness, peace, and equality. They have to smear you in order to feel better about their own inadequacy. And I argue that narcissistic abuse in the workplace does just as much damage as it does in romantic relationships. And in both cases, you absolutely cannot win. There are, however, some significant differences. The biggest difference between narcissistic abuse in romantic relationships and in the workplace is that in the workplace, you don't love these people. If you are no stranger to my channel, you know that I am an educator, and one of my favorite things to teach when I teach English for internationals is idioms. And my favorite idiom to teach is there is no love lost between you. There is no love lost between you and workplace bullies because there never was any love in the first place. In fact, you don't even like them very much. People who have been in narcissistically abusive romantic relationships report that they did love their narcissist and indeed were in love with them. At the same time, they ask themselves, well, why didn't my narcissist love me? Well, narcissists don't really love anyone, including themselves, because they're not capable of experiencing love or anything good, such as joy, peace, or gratitude. The narcissist emotional playbook is pretty two-dimensional. It consists of rage and pathological jealousy. Workplace bullies, on the other hand, are profoundly unlikable people. No one can really stand them. When workplace bullies come around, everyone kind of internally groans and goes, ugh, so-and-so is here. On the few days when workplace bullies are absent for whatever reason, it's like the place has been illuminated with peace. And I bet you can remember those days as the best days that you worked there. When the target of workplace bullying, on the other hand, has been eliminated, it's like somebody turned out all the lights. It's impossible to love workplace bullies because there is nothing to love about them. They're not lovable people. In fact, they're not even likable. The target of workplace bullying, however, is, and that's part of the problem. Another difference is that narcissistic abuse in romantic relationships is much more overt. Repeat after me. Bullies get away with more behind closed doors. Narcissists in romantic relationships can engage in some truly horrifying behavior, including fits of rage and even physical violence, because they can get away with it. In the workplace, narcissists can't get away with as much. The whole point of workplace bullying is that it needs to be as subtle, indirect, and passive-aggressive as possible so the bullies can never be called on their behavior. Workplace bullies are narcissists, or at the very least have narcissistic tendencies, and there is only one thing in this world or in this life that narcissists care about, and that's their image, their reputation, what other people think of them, and how they look to other people. Workplace bullies may be completely lacking in any sort of spiritual knowledge or awareness, otherwise known as wisdom, but they are not stupid. They almost never do or say anything that can get them into trouble, get them fired, or worse, get them arrested. All of that means that workplace bullying is difficult, if not impossible, to document, because there's nothing to document. And documenting doesn't work anyway, because documenting amounts to absolutely nothing more than glorified journaling in a case of he said, she said. All of that leads you to wonder just how crap workplace bullies' personal relationships really are. I don't believe that workplace bullies have real friends. If anything, they have frenemies. But think about it. If this is how they treat people in the workplace, imagine how they treat people in their personal lives. Another difference is that when it comes to narcissistic abuse in the workplace, you can't just walk away because you have so much more to lose. You have far fewer options and there's a lot less that you can do. Leaving a narcissistically abusive workplace is not like dumping your boyfriend or girlfriend. It's not like going through a breakup. You can't just walk away because of one big, obvious reason, and that's money. If you're a non-narcissist and a non-bully, you walk into the workplace for one reason and one reason only, and that's money. You're working for something that you need, money, not something that you want, love. There is one way and only one way to deal with narcissistic abuse, and that is to do something called going no contact, because narcissists do not change and cannot stop hurting you. Any therapist worth her salt, if she learns that you are in a narcissistically abusive relationship, will advise you to go no contact. But for those for whom going no contact is not an option for whatever reason, for example, you're parallel parenting with a narcissist or you work with them, the alternative is something called gray rock, whereby you become emotionally unresponsive to the narcissist. Narcissists are easily distracted by pretty shiny things. It's like a baby with a mobile, a toddler in a toy store, or a kid in a candy shop. The idea behind gray rock is that you become so boring and uninteresting to the narcissist that the narcissist just gives up, goes away, and leaves you alone. But if you attempt no contact or gray rock with a narcissist in the workplace, which is perfectly understandable because you don't want anything to do with these people because their energy is so vile, you will be accused of being uncollaborative, not being a team player, not getting along well with others, and not playing well with others. Ultimately, when it comes to workplace bullying, no contact means separation from work and loss of income. Another difference is that while all narcissists love to prey upon your vulnerabilities, in the workplace bullies are just guessing at what your real insecurities are. In romantic relationships, because you have made yourself emotionally vulnerable, a narcissistic partner may be able to identify your real insecurities and then sucker punch you right on them, because that's what narcissists do. In the workplace, however, bullies are trying to figure out what your real insecurities are, but they're not doing a very good job. It's like a game of bad darts. They're taking shots in the dark. Their ineptitude is comical. It's laughable. If you are a woman, most often bullies assume that you are insecure about your body, and that's a fair assessment in a culture in which entire institutions depend very heavily on women feeling bad about their bodies. When workplace bullies want to attack you, it always goes in exactly the same order. First, they attack your physical appearance. Then, when that doesn't work, they go after your personal habits, which includes your work ethic. Finally, when all else fails, they attack your character. It's so predictable, I could time my watch by it. Finally, in romantic relationships, narcissistic abuse has 3 phases: love bombing or idealization, devaluation, and discard. Workplace bullying is only one phase. Workplace bullying is the devaluation phase of narcissistic abuse. And the goal, of course, is discard. There is no love bombing here. Now, don't get me wrong, some workplace bullies may try to love bomb initially with sickening, nauseating attempts at getting attention, approval, and validation from you. But one of my theories about workplace bullying is that most often the target of workplace bullying is an empath, or at the very least a highly sensitive person. And empaths are averse to inauthenticity. You're not feeling it, you're thoroughly unimpressed and uninspired. So workplace bullies shift very rapidly into devaluation because their love bombing doesn't work. Love bombing is the narcissist's attempt to secure the victim as a source of narcissistic supply. And devaluation is punishment for your failure to feed that supply and your reluctance to gratify the narcissistic ego, which the narcissist interprets as narcissistic injury. Workplace bullying is essentially one big temper tantrum about the narcissistic injury that you inflicted when you didn't feed narcissistic supply and gratify the narcissistic ego. Long story short, you didn't kiss enough butt. Another point I make about workplace bullying is that it has nothing to do with the work. This is most evident in the form of a verbal or written warning, which is absolutely nothing more than passive, aggressive, petty retaliation against the target of workplace bullying for whatever narcissistic injury the target unwittingly inflicted. When narcissistic workplace bullies issue a verbal or written warning, they have to make it sound as though it's just about your work. Either your work is not good or you don't work well or at all in some cases. However, nothing could be further from the truth. This is their revenge. Another point I make about workplace bullying is that it is wholly different from childhood bullying. It's not necessarily true that workplace bullies were bullies in childhood. Workplace bullying is revenge of the nerds, y'all. And what better way to get revenge than to issue a verbal or written warning to someone who reminds them of the popular kids who bullied them when they were in school? Another way that workplace bullying is different from childhood bullying is that on the schoolyard playground or in the middle school lunchroom, the target of bullying is most often the one who is different, the one with red hair, the one who is heavy, the person of color, etc. It has been said that the target of workplace bullying is the star. And it's a cliche at this point that targets of workplace bullying are bullied because they remind the bullies of someone. Long story short, you are bullied not for your work, but because you are a better person than they are. If you are a target of workplace bullying and you get a verbal or written warning, it could be that you didn't comply with whatever unethical or even illegal activity that they hired you to do but never overtly articulated to you. It could be that you offhandedly pointed out some failure or other error in their work or work ethic. It could be that you're not exactly overjoyed and thrilled to work there, or it could be that you just didn't respond to them the way that they wanted you to. Yes, workplace bullying really is that petty. If you are a target of workplace bullying and you get a verbal or written warning, know that it has nothing to do with your work. A verbal or written warning is about one thing and one thing only, and that's cutting you down to size and putting you in your place. Very common advice for victims of any form of narcissistic abuse is not to personalize things. People actually say that. I don't take anything personally. But workplace bullying is about as personal as it gets. It's called the target for a reason. You have been targeted. Workplace bullying is not about your work, but about who you are. So that's a summary of the differences between narcissistic abuse in romantic relationships and narcissistic abuse in the workplace. I hope that helps. Take care.